We want to have just an off-the-cuff chat between you and me. Us. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
We're live. We did it. We pressed the buttons.
We did it. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Tommy somewhere. Yay.
Yay.
Everybody.
Run out.
Indie News Network, collaborative family of independent content creators.
It's American tradition. It's indie. It's Jesse. What's up, everyone?
What's up, Space Monkeys? Welcome to Political Flight Club. I'm Robert Durden.
It's good to be here. Finally, I'm on Extra Bulla.
I'm Tatami of the YouTube channel Tatami's Diary.
Welcome to another episode of the show your parents warned you about. It's Reef After Dark.
This is Tatami Nation Politics.
Hey guys, this is Tommy. Tommy Nation Politics.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Politics is Survival.
Hello, my name is Lucy from Blue Moon Red Wine, and I'm very happy to be a founding member of Vitamin.
Well, hi, everybody. It is, how did we miss that?
We're also available on all your favorite podcast platforms. Again, Spotify.
On Twitter and Instagram.
YouTube, Twitch,
Odyssey,
Facebook Live, Discords, and Telegram. And
Also on Amazon, Apple, Google Podcasts there also.
again, this is it. We use all these platforms to make sure that no one platform can shut us down. That's the other reason for diversification. They're trying to eliminate us.
It's kind of cool the way that these indie media networks, they operate differently than these other networks in that you're going to get honest opinions, you're going to get honest commentary because we're not sold out, but you're also going to get a lot of like unique personalities.
At Shutdown Amazon is now either co-opted or has explaining to do. In less than 1 month, he showed up to GQ, Teen Vogue, shaking at POTUS's hand.
I still always like to say thank you and shout out the volunteers and the people that actually make this show happen.
I like it better than anything else.
Yeah, we know, Nancy. We know.
Guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. Free-thinking, innovative, and open-minded new independent progressive media.
We'll see you next time. This was the Politics of Survival.
You keep questioning everybody's motivations, and thank everybody for coming tonight, and we'll see you next week, and download the podcast. Bye, everybody.
Don't vote Democrat.
Keep listening to what little birds have to tell you.
Please wash your ass.
Keep fighting that good fight out there, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Who are these people?
What's up, everybody? How are y'all doing?
What's up?
Y'all doing good? Hopefully this anniversary stream is going well. There's been a lot of content. There's been some stuff.
Happy
I think
birthday, INN. Yay.
I know, right? It's been a year.
As you can tell, I'm a little excited and a little loopy, but that's okay.
Yes, we're slam packed with stuff to do and schedules, but yeah, should be Reefer After Dark some point tonight. I think that's at 11. But yeah, should be good. We brought a couple of extra stories for people on Saturday. We normally don't do that, but we figured we'd give you guys an hour of our time, you know?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we brought a couple too, dose, you know.
Yeah.
I brought one. My
Actually,
co-host Collin brought one.
Well, 1.5. I would say 1.5, really, because
1.5.
1.5.
Um,
One story. Well, my story is more of a continuation on the Frederick Douglass article that I was reading on Wednesday. So if you haven't checked that out, please watch Wednesday's stream. That was the first segment. Or when we clip that and when that's out, you can watch that whole thing without the rest of the segments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to finish that article today.
Okay.
Tonight, whenever you guys watch this.
Yeah.
And what you got?
I got a article from Sharon Zhang over at Truthout on Starbucks union members going on strike for Red Cup Day. So that should be a thing. But figured we'd cover some labor. We tend to cover quite a bit of that. But yeah, your Frederick Douglass story. Do you want to kind of give people a last time on Dragon Ball on that before we start?
I'm telling you, we need a segment on that. I'm sorry, we do.
I know, right? But
although I feel like we haven't really done any Dragon Ball type segments lately.
No, no. Other than my fight with Piccolo, you know, like we did that a long time ago. But you know, Piccolo kicked my ass, dude. It was terrible.
Right. But basically, back in the day, Frederick Douglass, we all know him. Hopefully, you all love him. Ambassador to Haiti, basically being a proxy to U.S. imperialism, but at the same time recognizing the needs of Haitians, and steamboat business was trying to boom in Haiti, and basically Frederick Douglass was like, no, we're not going to do that. And but the Haitians basically gave them money to support it anyway, which kind of surprised him. But basically, just given what happened, the U.S. government kind of undermined him in terms of his post. Wanted to get rid of him, but realized, oh, if we get rid of him, then that will affect our African American base. So they kept him on. And where I last left off, there is a port, Mole, I guess it's Mole or Moule, on Saint Nicolas that we are about to get into today, which has some huge significance in regards to U.S. imperialism. Thank you. Can't talk. It's late when we recorded this, and how it ultimately affected the rest of Douglas's ambassadorship to Haiti, and I would almost argue the remnants of his then career, even though he was a lot older at this point. So yeah, so we're going to continue with this article. There we go. So again, this was written by Peter James Hepson. This is the first part of
the article.
Links
will be down in that description, most likely.
Yeah. So, but towards the end of his life, Frederick Douglass served briefed as U.S. ambassador to Haiti. The disastrous episode reveals much about the country's long struggle for Black sovereignty while always under the threat of the U.S. empire. So, part 2 begins. Oh, can you?
Yes.
Zoom in. That is really small. Okay.
Yes, I can.
All right. So again, we're talking about this port, Mole Saint Nicolas, located on Haiti's northwestern tip, about 100 miles across the Windward Passage from Cuba's Guantanamo Bay. Mole Saint Nicolas has long been coveted by the United States. It stood centrally over the maritime routes between the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, and from the Caribbean Sea onward to the Isthmus of Panama and the Pacific. So ultimately, this means big trade port, basically, trade routes. For U.S. policymakers, it represented an important way of securing commercial and military dominion of the Caribbean, especially in light of plans to create the Panama Canal.
Right.
On January 1st, 1891, Secretary Blaine wrote to Douglass instructing him to begin negotiations with the government of Haiti to secure a long-term lease of Mole Saint Nicolas for use by the United States as a coaling and naval station. At the same time, and much to Douglas's surprise and chagrin, Blaine informed Douglas that his role in negotiations would be a subordinate one. Blaine had appointed Rear Admiral Bancroft Giraldi, commander of the North Atlantic Fleet, as a lead negotiator. Douglas was merely to serve as a black prop in the negotiations. From the moment Giraldi arrived in the U.S. fleet in Port-au-Prince at the end of January, Douglas's demoted role was clear. Giraldi sent an officer to the U.S. legation requesting Douglas's presence for an audience with Giraldi aboard the Philadelphia. It was a serious breach of diplomatic protocol. The etiquette of hierarchy demanded that Douglas should have received Giraldi at the legation. The summons served to confirm Douglas's diminished authority in Washington and by extension in Haiti, but it also illuminated the deep racist nature of the U.S. diplomatic infrastructure and Douglas's fraught and precarious place within it. Douglas shouldered the humiliation and went to the ship. There, Giraldi announced to Douglas his strategy for the negotiations. Douglas listened, all the while considering whether he should tender his resignation. Only his sense of fealty to the United States and loyalty to Harrison government stopped him. For the United States, the negotiations were a disaster. when Douglas and Giraldi met Firmin and Hippolyte. Hippolyte is the Haitian president
Yep.
at the time, at the presidential palace to propose the lease. Giraldi argued that Hippolyte's government owed a debt to the United States, and a lease for the mole would settle it. Giraldi reminded Hippolyte that the United States has been a great friend to his government, providing him with diplomatic and military support during his struggle for the presidency. He also pointed out that Hippolyte's involved in Washington had promised to support a U.S. lease on the mole if Hippolyte came to power. Douglas said little during the presentation. 5 days later, the United States made a formal request for a lease. To both Giraldi's and Douglas's surprise, Firmin refused to consider the application. Firmin pointed out that the application carried Giraldi's signature, not Douglas's, even though Douglas was the authorized representative of the United States in Haiti. He told them that since Giraldi had not presented his credentials from Washington to the Haitian government would be foolish to consider it and would not conceivably bring it to the Haitian executive.
No.
Giraldi was vexed. While he thought Firmin was stalling for time, there was little he could do to expedite the negotiations. He wired Washington for a letter of diplomatic credentials. It took 2 months for it to arrive. When it did arrive, on 4 warships carrying 100 cannons and 2,000 men, it worsened negotiations, making it seem that the United States was preparing to take Mole Saint Nicolas by force. Furthermore, the letter, which authorized Giraldi and Douglas to negotiate jointly, also proposed different lease terms that those Giraldi had presented to Firmin and Hippolyte. Unlike Giraldi's proposal, the new lease did not stipulate that Haiti would be prohibited from selling its land or leasing its territory to countries other than the United States. Giraldi and Douglas argued over which version they should present to the Haitian government. Giraldi won the argument.
And what's Giraldi's plan again?
Actually, I think it's here in this part.
Okay.
So on April 21st, 1891, Douglas and Giraldi presented the new lease proposal to Firmin. The Haitians responded the next day, declining to grant it. Firmin argued that the lease would inaugurate a profound erosion of Haitian independence, as it would effectively cede a public sovereign right to dispose of its territory according to its own wishes. In the days following, Douglas asked Firmin if he would reconsider the lease if the U.S. fleet was withdrawn from Haitian waters. Firmin was noncommittal, but when the fleet departed, negotiations were over. Months afterward, to the great relief of Harrison and Blaine, Douglas resigned his post. So basically, it was a lease to allow the U.S. essentially to port there for trade, more or less. But I think there were 2 different versions depending on, just due to the fact that Douglas was meant to do it.
Gotcha.
But Giraldi stepped in his place with different ideas. And the Haitian government was like, no, you can't do that. So, Giraldi basically needs the authorization to say that he was able to, essentially authorize or be able to negotiate this lease in place of Douglas, basically. So obviously, given this was back in the 1800s, that took months to do. And given that this release arrived basically with
on warship
army, basically the Haitians were like, what are you doing? So
right.
I don't think so. Basically, it was kind of like, it seemed like they were going to war with Haiti, which really wasn't the case. But the Haitians, I think that just kind of made the Haitians very much like, nah, we're not going to do this with you.
Yeah.
So basically, it failed
Right.
on account of racism, basically.
Yay. Okay.
So
Sure.
the U.S. failure to obtain a lease for Mole Saint Nicolas fell on Douglas's shoulders. Of course, he was pilloried in the press, which blamed him for the collapse of the deal while casting him as diplomatically incompetent. Minister Douglas wrote the New York Times is an antique and of no possible aid to government which had any diplomatic business in hand. The paper argued that by reason of age, inactivity, and limitations of temperament, Douglas was ultimately out of his depth in the negotiations. It also revived the idea raised when he was first appointed to Haiti that the Haitians would have very little respect for a black diplomat. Fred Douglas, the use of the reculing diminutive was the paper standard, was not likely to be more impressive to the ordinary Haitian than any other man with a black skin. Douglas knew, however, that the U.S. failure had little to do with his efforts or lack thereof. The prolonged fiasco of the Clyde negotiations had made the Haitian government wary of the United States. The presence of U.S. battleships in the Haitian waters did little to aid negotiations, instead triggering a public anxiety about the threat of military intervention and the relinquishment of Haitian sovereignty. With the acute sensitivity of a small nation in a predatory world, historian Ben Quall observed, Haiti feared that even a toehold on her territory by foreign power would mark the beginning of her loss of sovereignty.
Yeah.
Furthermore,
interesting that he said
Quall,
the New York Times was an antique.
yeah.
Even then, you know?
Even then.
Right?
Furthermore, as Qualls notes, the possibility of a lease was foredoomed no matter who represented the U.S. The Haitian Constitution forbid the sale or secession of territory to foreign powers, making the proposed deal illegal, and Haitian public sentiment strongly favored this injunction. Nothing is more repugnant to the thoughts and feelings of the masses of that country, wrote Douglas, than the alienation of a single rood of their territory to a foreign power.
I mean, we essentially did this in Cuba, right? Which is what it kind of said. That, like, this worked in Cuba. You know, it's how we got Guantanamo. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
That's why it's important to learn history, folks.
Yes, sir.
Even so, as with the Clyde concessions, Douglas was not necessarily opposed to a U.S. base on Haitian soil, and he was more than willing to go through the proper diplomatic channels to try to secure a lease. When it came to U.S. foreign policy goals, Douglas thought U.S. imperialism was beneficial and believed in the righteous exponential character of U.S. power. Indeed, Douglas was more than sympathetic to U.S. expansion and the extension of American power and influence in the Caribbean and elsewhere. He had supported the annexation of Santo Domingo in the 1870s and applauded attempts to secure the Dominican Republic's Santa Maria Bay by the United States for military purposes. Douglas lashed out at those who saw him as somewhat subverting U.S. foreign policy goals, stating that he had understood the importance of U.S. dominance in the Caribbean long before his critics were in their petticoats. So...
Yeah.
Not quite.
Just to reread, Douglas lashed out at those who saw him somehow subverting U.S. foreign policy goals. He's like, no, I get what needs to happen here. You know?
Right.
Like, I've been doing this I'm a lot older than you whippersnappers. You know, essentially. Like, been doing this a minute. Okay.
But Douglas was also aware of the moral limitations of U.S. sectionalism and cautioned against its abuse, especially against countries such as Haiti that had neither the economic nor the military resources to easily withstand U.S. pressure. His experience as an ambassador to Haiti served as a lesson to him in this regard. Is a weakness of a nation the reason for our robbing it? Douglas asked. Are we to take advantage not only of its weakness, but of its fears? Are we to wire it from it by dread of our power, what we cannot obtain by appeals to its justice and reason? Douglas also had an acute understanding of the unique context of Haiti, whose struggle for Black freedom had rocked the white world to its foundation. Its mere presence at the table of free powers was an affront to white supremacy. As a result, the white world will never tire of punishing Haiti for the sin of Black sovereignty, as I've said before. Haiti is Black, Douglas stated, and we have not yet forgiven Haiti for being Black or forgiven the Almighty for making her Black.
Damn. You know who we brought into it, huh? You know who he was bringing into it?
Jesus Christ.
What? Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, God.
In the introduction to the 1962 edition of the Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, Pan-African historian Rayford W. Logan noted that the imbroglio of Douglas's ambassadorship Anticipated 20th century political debates concern the appointment of African American ambassadors to post-colonial African nations. Today, of course, the more readily available analogy is to the appointment of Black people to the most prominent positions in the executive branch. The same debates recur about the dilemmas of racial loyalties as they cut across national lines, about support for U.S. imperialism and U.S. power against the defense of Black sovereignty and self-determination, and of the moral engagement of two modes of intertwined, though often opposing exceptionalisms, U.S. and African American, as they are invoked in relation to struggles for a more equitable and just world. It is a testament to Douglas' diplomatic agility that he was able to maintain his personal integrity while defending Black sovereignty even as he served as representative of the United States. It is an indictment of the misaligned allegiances of far too many contemporary Black politicians that they do not. Haiti, meanwhile, remains bullied, exploited, and unforgiven. Thoughts?
I mean, still happening. Got worse.
Yeah.
Got way worse. I mean, it's essentially, I mean, it's similar to what happens in South America too, right? Where we come in, we send all these envoys, and if things don't go particularly our way, we send a few more envoys with a few more cannons, and, you know, like, so.
It's a threat, and basically, you know,
yeah, it's the
push our foot in the door in regards to those countries. In the name of what we want.
Yeah, it was essentially like a classic mafia move of like, you know, like insurance. Like, look, I wouldn't want nothing to happen. You wouldn't want anything to happen. You know, it's that sort of thing to me. Strong arming, that sort of stuff.
But yeah, like I said, this article was very interesting. I think given that we spoke about Haiti, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, just the idea of, you know, we think that what's happening in Haiti is relatively recent. I feel most people, well, actually, no, I can't say that. I don't think a lot of people would necessarily know that, no, there's a history there. There's a history, you know,
a long
with France,
history.
you know, obviously, yeah, like overtaking, you know, basically, as I said, you know, Haiti succeeded.
France still one of the major powers
and then,
in Africa now.
Right.
You know, how many African countries have that Franco buck? Like a few of them?
A few. I'm not sure the number, but definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I think that's changing though.
It's trying to.
Rwanda, you know, is trying to, you know, kind of removing itself from, well, European influence and returning to more
directly
identity in Rwanda in particular. For those of you who I did interview with my friend of mine that premiered earlier today, so you go check that out if you will go back to the stream if you want to see that interview. But you know, but the idea is that, you know, with Haiti, this has been going on for over 200 years. And as you said, it's getting a lot worse. And the fact that, again, like just learning this now, I think we really need to kind of think more of Haiti in terms of how the U.S. has affected the country and basically, you know, the reason why Haiti is the way that it is now, and we're threatening now to do this again, you know, should be of utmost concern.
Terrible stuff. Recently Tara had on, which we might be playing some of that today, with Taz Brooker, I think is her name, director of When We Speak, one of the women in that whistle blew on humanitarian aid in Haiti. Sexually assaulting women while they were there. Like, you know, it's, I mean, yeah, we should not be over there in any means. Just leave our saltine butts here. Let them do their thing. You know, like, I'll show up to the cookout, but otherwise, you know, Like I'll have Cook at the cookout because that sounds like fun, you know. But whatever.
Yeah,
Speaking
like I
of
said,
cooks,
if you want to see the first half, check out either our stream on Wednesday or once it's clipped, you could watch it
watch it
and put
there.
it together in your own time in full.
Yep. Should be a
But yeah,
playlist.
Reef.
INN news clips people can go look at. But yeah, speaking of cooks, over 100 Starbucks stores go on strike to protest company union busting. This is from Truthout. Of course, the lovely Sharon Zhang. Me and Indy both cover her frequently. This was on November 17th. But workers for more than 100 Starbucks locations nationwide are staging a strike on the company's Red Cup Day on Thursday in protest of union busting tactics that the company has relentlessly unleashed on pro-union workers. The Red Cup Rebellion, as workers have dubbed it, will see more than 2,000 workers on strike. The union says, with 112 stores on strike in dozens of cities from coast to coast. It is the largest national action taken by Starbucks workers united so far, as the union comes up on the first anniversary of its first stores voting to unionize. So you're going to have to go way back and then INN and how do we miss that stuff to go find us talking about that. Red Cup Day is usually one of the company's most profitable days when workers give customers Starbucks branded reusable red holiday cups with certain purchases. Striking workers will instead give out red union branded reusable cups to customers in response to Starbucks union busting tactics and refusal to bargain, the union wrote. Whether it's firing one of my coworkers for wearing a suicide awareness pin, how they've closed down a dozen locations in the process of unionizing, or how we've been denied benefits that non-union stores are getting, Starbucks has left behind the very values that drew many of us to the company in the first place, said union organizer and Buffalo barista Michelle Eisen in a statement. You cannot be pro-LGBTQ, pro-BLM, pro-sustainability, and anti-union. The Red Cup Day, we've organized for a voice. This Red Cup Day, we've organized for a voice on the job and a true seat at the table, Eisen continued. The company has waged a relentless anti-union campaign, racking up nearly 40 complaints from the NLRB, encompassing hundreds of alleged labor violations. This includes 4 requests for injunctions from the agency, one of the strongest actions that labor officials can take against a union-busting company. Workers have continually protested actions from the company with dozens of strikes in the past months. Earlier this year, workers in Boston waged a 64-day-long strike in protest of the company's hourly availability policy. And workers at the flagship roastery in New York City are currently in the 4th week of a strike, as workers say the company has refused to fix mold and bed bugs problems in the store, which me and Indy covered recently on How Do We Miss That? The union has been frustrated recently as the company, after delaying contract negotiations for months, has been stonewalling workers who come to the bargaining table, despite many of them taking days off to bargain. Workers have reported that the company's negotiators will walk out of negotiations after just minutes of being in the room, refusing to bargain. They do the same thing in every session, Eisen told the Washington Post. It's further delay tactics. They're legally obligated to show up to the table, but they're not done playing games. The company's union-busting campaign isn't just a problem for Starbucks workers, the union says. Rather, it's a problem that affects the entire labor movement as other companies learn from Starbucks' actions. Starbucks' continuous and lawless union busting has cast doubt on the future of the American labor movement. If Starbucks can break the law to stamp out their workers' unionization efforts, they could be writing the playbook for countless other companies to follow, the union said. Workers hope that the Red Cup Day strike will demonstrate how essential workers are in the company's profitability. Thoughts so far, Collin?
I mean, wait for them to take action and wait for them, to actually be proactive, in terms of trying to make a move in order to unionize instead of just kind of waiting. So, and I say this having, and I think I mentioned this on Wednesday during my rant, regarding Mike Figueredo, also known as the Humanist Report, I mentioned that I did a walkout of sorts. I wouldn't even necessarily call it that on Wednesday through my teachers union in DC. And my issue with it was it would have been a lot more effective, in my opinion, if it was a walkout in the sense of we actually did not go into school. Like our walkout happened after school, number one. Number two, our mayor was reelected last Tuesday during election day. So it would have made more sense if we actually took those actions and made it more serious to the point where teachers are actually not working in schools prior to her being elected. So for me, the idea that Starbucks is making these moves, well, I think you can argue there's just been a lot of back and forth, but workers are not necessarily waiting and making proactive moves in order for them to, push the narrative in their favor, which I think is a good thing. So, and I think especially doing this, now during the holidays, it's going to make noise. So, or at least it's going to get the attention, hopefully of mainstream media that would be able to report on it, which I think, which honestly would kind of put Starbucks in the bind of being like, oh, we have to do something, So I think the way that they kind of did it, they weren't necessarily walking out, but basically replacing the cups and basically using that as the marketing tool of being like
costing the company money,
right?
Yeah.
Which I think is genius. So good on you, Starbucks.
It's like when the bus people went on strike, they would just take the people on the bus and just not make them pay, so that they had to burn gas and stuff. But one of the ways Starbucks makes their billions is by exploiting our labor, especially on days like their famous Red Cup Day, said Boston shift manager Willa Montana. If the company won't bargain in good faith, why should we come to work when we are understaffed, underpaid, and overworked? Here's where we get into some funky waters here. The protest has garnered the support of major progressive leaders like Senator Bernie Sanders, who tweeted on Thursday, "I'm proud to stand with Starbucks workers on strike today across the country. CEO Howard Schultz is illegally union busting and firing workers for organizing. Mr. Schultz, it is time to recognize the stores that unionized and negotiate with workers in good faith. The strike killer strikes again." We've covered plenty of times on both How Do We Miss That and INN, how involving yourself with politicians like this when doing union efforts can be not the best idea, I want to say.
Well, here's the thing with Bernie, and this is something that I feel like I've said before, but when he was campaigning, Bernie said that he would be like, when he would become president, that he would be the organizer in chief.
Yeah.
And obviously he's not president, but like, I think for many people, the idea kind of still remained that, okay, I'll be in the Senate, but I'll still kind of be on the front lines as far as organizing, in his case, rallying people around certain causes. Bernie has not done that in the last 2 years.
No.
And my argument is, if he has been doing this, and like even with the squad, if they kind of collaborated and did more direct action like this, as he said he was going to do, then that would be one thing. But he's kind of coming in, we saw this with Chris Smalls as well, in the guise of, yeah, I support you, but that's almost seems to be almost like the mark of the beast,
Yeah.
you could say, in terms of like, the kiss of death. That, as you've said, again, regarding Chris Smalls, that's going to possibly turn off.
It's like
Republican voters who may not necessarily like Bernie to being like,
not even that.
People think, oh, this
Republican
is like,
workers.
Oh, this is like a Democrat. This is like a Democrat / progressive
Yeah, this is one of those liberal commie things.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of like when I feel like when Bernie is called to these things, it reminds me of Obama, who famously was going to put on his comfortable shoe and never did, except when he can pick up the phone and call the NBA and have the strike canceled. Right?
Right.
So to me, this is very similar to what Bernie has been shown to do, that when he shows up, people start capitulating to company demands, you know, as opposed to holding out their strike. You know, it's that little bit of hopium they need. You know,
I think especially since the government is so bought, not to say that Bernie is taking Starbucks money, but I think just the whole institution of it is bought. It just kind of comes off as disingenuous. And again, I think with Bernie, he could have prevented that if he actually did what he said he was going to do.
As well as the squad and the rest of the Democrats who are supposed to be pro-worker, but aren't, very clearly.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's definitely
it leaves a bad taste in I think amounts, especially of people on the right who may not like Bernie and kind of capitulated to a politician versus the issue.
Yeah.
Which is not what we want.
No.
We want people to focus on the issue, not tied to a politician.
Focus on what you are for rather than what you're against. Someone said that. We should probably put those on the soundboard. Just Kwame Ture's entire discography. Yeah, I gotta put that on there. But yeah, this is, you know, when Bernie's not killing strikes, he's.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Like that's about it these days. Oh, you see he had a new book. He's putting on a new book. Do you see that?
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
What's that new book called?
It's something in regards to revolution, which I had to laugh at. Like, which is like, you led no revolution. You led a campaign.
New Bernie Sanders book to declare it's okay to be angry about capitalism. Was it the price of justice, money, morals, and ethical reform and law? That's not it. Let's look at this Guardian article real quick. See if it actually says the title. It's okay to be angry about capitalism is the name of it. It's Penguin House. But outlining a vision of what would be possible for if the political revolution took place. That didn't. I mean, it feels like a bit of
emotional damage.
You know?
I mean,
hurts me.
For us, yes.
Yeah.
For us, yes. Not for us, but like maybe for the stands, sure.
Yeah.
I think the rest of us have kind of gone over this by now.
I'm with you. Since it's anniversary day and we got about 10 minutes to kill, we've got. I wanted to take a look at our year-long analytics real quick. If you can see some of this, we have
seen stuff.
Yay, 25.7K views in the last 365 days, 4.8K watch hours, and 0.767 subscribers. This is the thing. That's the thing. In the last year, that's what we've gotten. If we can just get that to 1,000, I'd be greatly appreciated. Great. Yes. I'd be highly appreciative. Words. Yes. We're at 836 subscribers right now. I mean, anything you want to say about the last year?
Anything I want to say within the last year? I think, I plan to say, you know, like I would have never imagined being a part of a network. Number one, it wasn't in my mind frame of even like the idea for me, because I started my own channel, you know, and that was what I was planning to do. And then in the like as soon as I uploaded my first live stream on my own channel, Kamala Mukwano, he approached me to be a part of INN. And, so at the time it was just kind of like, okay, I get to do Kamala Mukwano stuff, but then like just having the INN label kind of attached to it.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened, really. I think I might have done one stream since on that channel, and then, I've just kind of been focused on this. But, for me, it's been a huge learning experience for me as far as learning how to collect stories and clip them up, and like, learning how to make a thumbnail, and like all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't necessarily think about, that I think people had to take for granted, that I had to learn. And that takes time. And, I
Yeah.
only feel like I'm beginning to find, even just thumbnails, my style that I think I kind of like, that, that I'm gonna stick with. But it's a lot of experimentation. So I think for me, it was like the idea of playing around with stuff, and you telling me you got to play around and just hang out and just, which I haven't really done, but I think just even a little that I've done just kind of showed how painstaking it is to do this,
Yeah.
and it's just for us once a week, but a lot goes on in just a
Just
2-hour
that.
stream that I think people don't necessarily think.
I mean, I remember the first ones we did were like, it took us a good minute to prep those. Yeah, like now we can get it done in like a couple hours, but
Maybe.
like there's a lot there. I mean, I think as far as INN is concerned, for me, like between Indy and like Tara, and I mean, we've gotten multiple channels in the network to numbers that I'm pretty proud of, like I feel like I got, with INN News, we started getting into a real groove at this point, it definitely helps to have you here. But like a year of this has been, I'm excited for the upcoming year to see what we're like gonna be able to pull off there. I'm not excited about the political landscape in the next year, but
No, but I think, as I said in my stream this past on Wednesday, I feel like this, yeah, it's gonna be sucky. But at the
yeah,
same time, I feel like, I think for us, in a lot of ways, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, because it's gonna be about Trump. Trump, Trump,
yeah,
Trump, Trump, Trump. We know this. Like, but I think to offset that, I think we have the opportunity, and I think we've kind of started on this already, is to kind of talk to people about, yeah, Trump isn't the only ish
yeah,
that we should be concerned about. Honestly, like, he should be really the minor thing that we should be concerned
yeah.
about. Really, the thing that
10%
we
at
should be
most
doing,
is gonna be,
like,
and like even that I want to avoid.
yeah, but I think what we should be focusing on is direct action, mutual aid, focusing on local elections, having people be aware of what's happening in their own neighborhoods and their own
Yeah,
towns and cities, and within the context of, if you're abroad, like focusing on your countries, and then doing what you can to make the changes that you need to within the means that you have. So, so whether it is taking direct action, or taking some type of mutual aid, or just helping a neighbor in your next door to you, I think having those opportunities for us to kind of reveal the reality of what's happening with people on the ground. And I'm looking forward to, as we're growing, to get more of those voices on the show and on the network, whether as talking about those issues, or maybe having
yeah,
more people on, the network, to kind of elevate other voices. That I'm really looking forward to that. And I think we've
me
kind of
too.
started a trend where, and I think we're very conscious of this, I think in terms of our planning, that we don't want to sound or look like everyone else. Like, yeah, it's necessary for certain things to talk about the hot topic stories, and we will cover those. but we also, I think we've kind of committed to talking about other things that relate to people, you know, in terms of the everyday. And I think we understand it because we are those people. Like, you know, so
Well, and
that's the part I'm really looking forward to, you know, moving into 2023, you know, that we have, I think we've started to gain that discipline and, you know, the commitment to want to share those stories. And so I think it's just the idea of doing that a lot more in counter to what people will be talking about constantly.
yeah, I mean, for me, with INN as a whole, like as a group, we've all went through those ups and downs. I feel like, you know, a lot of us have been through that honeymoon period with each other. We're now at that point where we can like get into the meat of things, and you know, it's hard to trust people in this space. So the fact that we've managed to like come together and do this, you know, Tara's now, you know, at a paid gig with, you know, Kim Iverson. You know, we've made plenty of friends in this space that I never thought we would. So
I think for me, you know, just I think at minimum making, like, I didn't really know who you were prior to being on the network, but you know, getting to know you and, you know, and like, you know, becoming very close with you, like that's been such a joy. And then and like obviously I knew of Indy, but getting to know him a little better, you know, like Crab, you know, as I call him, he's my little brother, that my long lost little brother, you know, like, you know, but I think like Indy said, you know, when he made his pitch, like he wanted this to be a family. And at least for me, it definitely has felt like that in terms
yeah,
of like, you know, like we talk about, you know, obviously, you know, talk about news or whatever, but you know, that there are other moments when like I can talk to you guys about personal stuff that's happening with me. And then like, you know, the ways that you've kind of encouraged me. And like even last week, you know, we were arguing over some issues, but we talked through it and like got over it. And, you know, we kept on pushing as family does do. So I really do feel like, at least for me, it's definitely felt like a family. So in a lot of ways, it's like it is work, but it doesn't feel like work
yeah,
doing this because I get to collaborate with people that I care about. I get to collaborate with people that, you know, I really respect and are very supportive of what I'm doing, you know, not just in this, but outside of this. And, you know, and I feel as a result, I've learned a lot more. I feel like I've also kind of gained more confidence. I think being on camera, you know, like you know, the interview that I did with Ronnie, you know, like I was so nervous, you know, like you
yeah,
can tell. Like, and I feel now because I'm doing this every week, that I feel like I'm a lot more confident, you know, I'm not repeating phrases quite as much, you know, so yeah, I just feel like I've definitely grown in this and beginning to find more of my voice in this. So I think it's just a matter of fine tuning that as I continue doing this and getting better and learning more stuff. And I hope my biggest thing for 2023 is to be able to take a lot of what I learned into Kamano Wukwana and being able to upload more content there in
yeah.
addition to doing stuff here. So this has been a great learning ground for me to essentially be better at my own channel, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm
When I think
excited
it might, I was talking about with this with Indy the other day, that it might be useful for you to like open that up, because you have it very limited to just African issues right now and covering that. But I feel like you as a voice for the Black diaspora in general on that channel would be something I would like appreciate,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
which would allow you to do
And
more, you know.
yeah, and talking about not this, because honestly, my family doesn't even know I do this. I don't talk to them about this. But like talking with my dad in particular over the summer, and what he said to me is your first priority is your community. Your first priority should be to the Caribbean. You know, that's where my ancestry is. And
Yeah.
so, and I think especially, like I feel like I have a connection, but it's not necessarily as deep as it would be like here, for example. And I realized, you know, that's mostly in part due to my identity to the islands, the Caribbean islands. It's tied to my parents, more specifically my dad. You know, like whenever I go, I do stuff with him versus if I go, I do stuff on my own. So I really do hope that you're right. I think being able to use that channel to expand that scope a little bit more. But I think even just looking at Kwame Ture a little bit, and I know just a surface of getting to know him, but as I've said, I feel like he's my spiritual mentor in a lot of ways because he is representative of who I am in terms of being born and raised in the Caribbean and then living in the States and then spending the remainder of his life in Africa and having that connection with the diaspora in general versus just one particular region of the world. Like he was focused on Blackness, not just like African Americanist or being Caribbean or like whatever else. It's just the idea of being Black. So I think just the idea of kind of contributing that to Kumana Wakwana would be, I think, I think that's definitely something I want to highlight more. But I definitely am thankful for being on this network and then being on the show where I've been able to talk about some of those issues a little bit, and kind of having this be a learning ground for me that I'm able to carry that over potentially when I'm ready to my other channel as well.
I wanted to like shout out Indy too, who doesn't get enough praise, in my opinion. Like, the dude works his fucking ass off. Like, has 3 kids.
Yeah.
A real job. We hear all the time. Like, they have no inside voices.
Right.
But, and he's up till 3 in the evening. Like 3 in the morning. Like it is 3 a.m. before he even thinks about going to bed, doing everything he's been doing. Helping out people to no end financially, emotionally, and like with all the content that he does. So, and we're all going to be a crying mess today. I'm sure everyone's already done that. So,
so Indy, I just want to, I know I made you cry the other night, but I'm going to make you cry again. But yeah, just thank you for your friendship. And in a lot of ways, you are the dad. You are a dad, in life, and you are a dad in this network. I think in terms of, at least for me, how you cared for me and Reef and others with your tireless dedication and almost sometimes to your detriment. And we tell you that, but just appreciating you and thanking you for what you've given us in terms of, being a part of this network and your belief in us that you saw that we have something to offer. And, not only him, like, and whether you like him or not, I have to thank Jackson Hinkle too, because he was the first one who told me you should go for it. And other people like Franco and like Mona and like other people
Misty,
who,
all the people outside the network, and all the people in the network. Like, there's so many, like, who in each of their own right have been going through their own problems, their own issues, but like everyone gives a shit.
Right.
So,
but I think, just those people who, were new. So, I mean,
Yeah.
people knew of us, but I think, like, we definitely went through our growing pains this year. But I think, like, and, like, there's been some hate. But with that, there's been a lot of
a
support. I
wealth
think,
of positivity. Yeah.
like, shout out to Misty, shout out to Savvy, shout out to JB and the RBN crew. Shout out to Do Dissidents, who are very new to us.
Kit Cabello, Hardlands Media.
Kit Cabello, Hardlands. Just Warren, an ex-boy, like, even though he's part of the network, but
Yeah.
there's just so many people who have really supported us and just saw, a lot in us that it made it a lot easier.
Shout out to all the guests on INN, from Chris Legion to Yeti to Noli to we've had fucking everyone in the network. Jesse, DJ Joe Nice,
Bank Sisters.
Yeah.
Again, doing this
Lucy,
most recent. Lucy,
like Indy.
But yeah.
So many.
But yeah.
If we didn't
all
name
the
you,
guests that we've had.
no, I appreciate you. So we definitely appreciate you.
And you didn't have to.
Yes.
And you didn't have to, because it's just kind of like, you knew, like, why the hell will we come on? But you guys took the risk, and we are extremely thankful for it. And
TNT Radio, that was a big deal when we were first starting. Like, Misty got us on there. That was a massive thing.
Right.
So yeah. I think Tara's doing a thing Monday, or Thursday. One of those two. And Warren probably will do an extra bull on Monday. I think they switched.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna do something next Wednesday. So
while you're cooking, we'll be here.
Yep.
Maybe earlier, I guess.
We'll figure it
Who
out.
knows?
We'll figure it out. Whatever you need, man. So
I'm off, so
right.
whatever. So, but yeah.
Sunday,
yeah,
I think we got. How did we miss that? But yeah, happy anniversary, everybody.
Happy anniversary.
Later
Happy
tonight,
birthday,
I think there's a Reefer After Dark with Yeti and Jesse that was fucking so funny, so good. So there's gonna be good stuff tonight. Roundtable streams and all that stuff are gonna be fun. So I'm looking forward to Saturday. I hope everyone is enjoying theirs.
Yes.
But anyway, I think that's it for us. As always,
Did we finish on time?
Yes, we've got plenty.
All
As always, which I still have to tell people, that, and I probably will years to come, still have to tell people. Yeah.
Make it a shirt.
It already is. Go check out INN, indienews.shop. There's shirts there that say this, that labels are bad. Stay independent, everybody. Good night, fam.
Happy birthday.
We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.